Lasher, Miles Morales combined. What would that look like? Found this cool image. So let's try and draw it. Landscape page. Use a pencil, use an eraser. Hit pause if I go too fast. So we got them like a claw, lots of tentacles, and that big sort of hooded area. I think we'll start with his large eye. So we're like up in the top third. Okay. Just some people, when I zoom out, they like have problems because they drew maybe the head too big. So I'm just like, if you broke your page, say like 1, 2, and 3, and we're up in this space, right? So we got a little spike, right? His head is kind of turned to the side, and we got these, you know, symbiote eyes. So they got these little spikes on them as you go around, sort of the exaggerated Spider-Man eye shape. It's always kind of easier to draw because you don't have to make it perfect or anything. So it kind of goes around. It can be bumpy, and then it goes kind of behind the hood, right? So this is kind of the hood line as well as the eye line. And so big eye. It's real smooth in this comic book style, right? So it's a smooth suit line, but if you wanted to add some sort of bumps around, you could. You know, if you wanted to make it look like it was kind of bumpy around the edge. Now, so this hood is going to skirt, kind of touch this line. So, and it's kind of pointy up the top, right? So we're just going to do a general sort of hood shape. Okay, so like his head will be in here. Kind of comes down to the middle of his chest then at some point. Down there, right? So the head shape. So we'll have sort of, say his other eye. You can see a little bit of his other eye here. We could probably do that little spike that we can see. Kind of just in there. It kind of spikes around there a little bit, right? So that's like his other eye. But then the face shape comes around this eye area, right? So it's like the same line, and it comes down to like his chin in there. So his chin sort of curves around like that, right? So it kind of dips in a bit there for where his mouth would be. So if you're curving around this little small eye, I think it goes in a bit and out for the chin. So it like dips in there. And then the jaw, classic comic book sort of strong jaw, really. Just goes up that way. It kind of disappears underneath the hood. Maybe if he had a bit of an ear kind of in there. And then the rest curves around for the top of his head in that way. And we can just see the back of his head kind of coming out from the, like the back of his neck and head coming out from the hood just there. Front of his neck, kind of an Adam's apple, and then a neck muscle line going down that way. And then we'll add like some neck muscles in here, pretty much like that. So the other side of this hood, real sort of pointy, sort of triangular. Going down into there. And this will have like a bit of an edge, maybe just like starting here, just to show it's kind of, you know, a piece of fabric. There'll be sort of more hood lines coming across his body and shoulder and everything. Very wide shoulder, very muscular here. And then we'll finish with the folds of the hood and then deal with his body. So we got a piece of hood that like points out here, kind of like Goblin, you know, kind of like Halloween-y sort of pointy hood, and then goes back out this way. And you're always bumping and sort of folding these overlapped lines just to make it look like fabric, you know. And so a couple more folding areas, just bumping its way, and then over his shoulder, sort of like there. And it all comes down towards the center of his chest. You know, it all ties in here. So all these lines want to go that way because it's all being pulled in that direction. We do have some webbing lines actually, sort of in here, right? Not a lot. Not sure if this is AI or someone actually drew this actually. Maybe a little bit at the back as well. And then we'll just go, strikes me as AI the way the lines were done. These. Now, anatomy. So we're in 3/4 pose, center line for his chest curves to, I would say, about there. Right, and then we get, so maybe a bit longer actually, probably should be bigger. Right, and then the bottom of his chest, right, so we'll get this sort of chest line there, and that'll like go back up towards his collarbone, sort of in there. Could have like a little bump inside, you know, for his neck muscles in here. The other line for the chest will go towards where his armpit is, sort of here. So your pectoral, which is this, joins your shoulder and your bicep in your armpit. They're all connected. So kind of this goes up. So this side of his body is much wider, see? So his shoulder will like start there. So this is about half the size of this one. Right? So this is twice the size of this because we're in 3/4 pose. So 1/4 of this whole space is missing. That's why it's called 3/4. Right? So you only have 3 of the 4. So this is double that. Right? So you go 1, 2, 3 to get to armpit. Right, and then side body just bumps down. And every now and then we could have like tentacles and stuff coming off, but I'll do them all at once. But just as an example, there's a little one down there. So the shoulder, quite large, muscular, deltoid shoulder. There's all symbiote ooze and stuff, lasher spikes and stuff coming off around his back. So that's bicep. So as I said, bicep, pec, and shoulder connect in here. Right, so that's bicep going that way. Tricep sticks out here. And then his back muscle says lats curve to a very slender sort of waist down here, right? So I'll finish this arm. So basically we get sort of forearm here, like in the bicep sort of area. Bit of an elbow, kinda. And then forearm just comes down this way. We can go off my page now. But he's got like a big thumb claw, right? So you can add just a little bit of that. And then the hand just goes down. There's like a green line there. That's sort of your basic arm shape. The other arm, so it comes out from, say, his neck here, it'll join trapezius muscle and then the other deltoid shoulder muscle, like that. And again, this whole space is like half the size of this even, you know, from shoulder to center of the chest. 1, 2, right? This is double. And then bicep here, tricep coming out underneath. And he's doing like a big claw pose, right? So his forearm kind of like, there's a bit of a forearm like bump kind of there, and then it comes up to his wrist, and then we have his elbow sort of sticking out here, and there's all symbiote ooze and stuff. Just go up to his wrist there. So, and a really sort of exaggerated hand in here because of Lasher's claws. They're quite long. So we'll go up the back of the hand first. Take your time with hands now, they're difficult. This hand is like the size of his hooded head. It's like massive, right? So we just go for it, right? Knuckles, there's a little bump for a knuckle there. And all your knuckles kind of look like that. Right, so we go up, change direction to the next knuckle. You have 2 knuckles in your fingers, well, 3 technically, but this one joins the hand. So that's the first one. So 1, 2, 3, and then you change direction. And this one comes to like a spiky nail. It curves around like that, right? And then 3 segments coming down, like so. Basically have to do this in a sort of circular shape, so like the claws curve down this way 3 more times. So we have that knuckle here, second knuckle, change direction like so, and then down to the spiky finger. So you always have 3 segments on your fingers. Some animes and cartoons don't, and comics don't do it quite like that, but it's the best way I've found to do it. A lot of them do it that way. Next one, hand, knuckle. Like these lines kind of extend down as well. And we'll go up to the ring finger knuckle, and then down to the claw. So you're always kind of dipping it in as well. And then these ones curve the opposite way. Yeah, I'm just looking, there's like a thumb in here, but it's I think this is AI. It's an AI thumb. Could be wrong, but little pinky. Sort of skin folds here, just at the base of his hand. And then so if I was looking at this hand now the opposite direction, so it's like that way. Yeah, you might, there is a bit of a thumb line. Let's just say here. Not exactly clear, but it's just a little bump. I guess it's supposed to be the thumb. Not sure how I feel about that. Might remove it, but we'll see. Might be better without that. There's a little green line. Yeah, I don't like this. Sorry, no. Mistake. We will remove. But it's good to see like errors and how you correct them and stuff. That's why I leave those things in sometimes. You know, I could remove it, but we're adding a little green line down the inside of the gloves, right? Just down there. Right. So spider in the center of his chest. So we'll go for big sort of spiking fangs first, and then the top of that head. Like that. Then we have 4 legs either side. Right, so we got like kind of start there, right? And you got 1, 2, 3. So 1. This is like the space, right? So leg coming out here, either side of those. So 1 leg, 2, 1, 2, 3, and a 4th. So there. I'll do that over here. So it's kind of curving. Say like that's his body. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, and a 4th, right? So each of these will be sort of a leg area. It's very thin on this side because we're kind of side on, but we can see the abdomen sort of coming down his stomach. You got some ab lines and stuff, so it bumps over these, and then we have 2 big spikes down here. All right, and then the rest of the legs, so they're quite big. Curving around his back. All right, 3 more. So we go down, up, then down again. So this would be black in here in the small line. It's kind of confusing when you're looking at it, but it's green and then black. And then the last one. There. We got to do this over here now. It's very narrow, right? So it's kind of like spiking up a bit, probably same height, but it kind of disappears off the chest, you know. So 1, oh yeah, and then black. A bit tighter in here. Like so. And then, so some obliques and abdominals and stuff. So like some like, you know, like abdominal lines. And like his hips and things. So like his rib cage and all these muscles and stuff here. Roughly drawn in. You just sort of suggest all that. You don't have to draw it out like everything. Like maybe here. Just some muscles, curves. So now Lasher's tentacles. So symbiotic, sort of oozing, kind of bumpy, like with a big sort of spike on the end, kind of like his fingernails. You can do this kind of rough, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. And we just do some like, maybe some like gaps in it, and little sort of texture lines coming down it. And we do one coming out of his, maybe we'll go from behind his arm on this one. So you can put these anywhere, like it's sort of up to you what way you want to do it. You know, little gap circles like that make it look like, you know, there's like some tentacles coming off all that. You want like off his arm, and there's like another one coming around his back here. Big one coming out from behind his shoulder, a smaller one. So we'll go maybe I'll put an extra big length of ooze coming out of this one. A couple of little gaps in it. Sort of like vines, kind of. Like a few more sort of tentacles and symbiote stuff. And of course, if you want to do like way more of that, you can. Sorry about the thumb. Maybe, just trying to think, where would it be? It should be like up here, because that's your pinky, so your thumb should be up there. So that's like definitely wrong. So the thumb should be in there, I think. But that looks okay to me without the thumb. You know, it could be just hidden behind this finger. Sorry about that. Hey, mistakes happen. Bit of a vein on the bicep there, maybe. Okay, Miles Morales, Lasher combination. I hope it's helpful. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.